Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Local Candidate Forum, sponsored by 9Be Strong. We're a local PAC that believe that strong communities are the result of each of us working together to support our institutions and our local government. Working together for what we value makes our community stronger. Our purpose in sponsoring this forum is to communicate the good about our community, promote civic engagement, and support local officials in performing their legal duties and responsibilities. This is a forum, not a debate. The questions have been submitted that are going to be asked. You're going to meet the candidates for district judge, clerk auditor, and county commissioner and learn their backgrounds and related experiences, their expectations, their reasons for seeking public office, and their vision for their office and our county. Questions were submitted ahead of time and will address the office being contested. In other words, every question should be answerable by every candidate. Be aware, audience, that your question may not be asked. We are under time constraints and are trying to avoid redundancy. For those of you who have additional questions, the candidates will be available after the forum for a one-on-one here. So there will be no questions from the audience, no retorts from the audience. It is all done, you've all had your chance. We did get a lot of good questions over the internet, and so we're ready to start. Oh, by the way, I'm Dave Anderson, the moderator. Yes, we are. We're going to give 3 minutes to every candidate to introduce themselves and tell us all about them. And I think we'll just go in order from the end. Ken, you're up.
Okay, I want to thank 9Be Strong for putting this event on. This is really good for people to, hear what we have to say. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Tim Bertling. I've lived here my whole life. I went to school at Evergreen, then switched up and went to Mount Hall. Then graduated in 1987 from Monterey High School. After that, had a little bit of college. Then family business, my dad needed help. So I went and started working in the woods. A little after that, as far as working in the woods, I ended up getting married. I've been married to my wife, Wendy, for 36 years. We have 2 great adult children, kids that one lives here. My daughter and her husband are moving back to Boundary County this year. So I have an invested interest in where the county goes. I want to see it go forward. And that's really important to me and everything. Let me reach over and grab my cheat sheet. Qualifications, talk about that. I served on the school board for 11 years, and I learned a lot about how to work with people and how to make connections. And it was a great learning experience for me. Now seeking my 3rd term as county commissioner, I also have a lot of knowledge and connection with different people down in Boise and different commissioners. Some of the things that we've done and been working on is the fact that with the landfill, getting that back on track has been huge. We now have clean bill of health for the landfill. We have combined it with Road and Bridge, as you might have heard. With being combined with Road and Bridge, now we can use manpower, and if landfill is short on guys, we can move guys over there. We also can move equipment over to help out with the landfill if something breaks down. Most importantly is the fact that we can then, if a piece of equipment breaks down at the landfill, we have a shop at Road and Bridge. That piece of equipment can go there. Then we're not hiring a field mechanic or moving into a shop, and we're saving money. With us saving money, that's good for the taxpayer. So that's also, yeah, very important. The Safeway building. You might have heard that, 30 seconds. Safety building, well, the Justice building that we have. Time? Oh, I'll say more.
Tim did a great job. Definitely has way more experience in the commissioner end of it than I do. My name is Debra Henderson, and I am also running for District 2 Commissioner position. I grew up here in Bonners Ferry. I arrived in about 1979 with my mom and my two sisters. I attended Mount Hall School, and that's where I first met Tim. And we both, gosh, so much. Let's see. I have to say this is probably the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life because, this was not something I wanted to jump into. I am an introvert. I love being at home. I'd rather be in my garden. But the more I started speaking to my community and the community reaching out to me, including, our new community members that have joined Boundary County, along with some of our older families that have been here, I started to understand some of the questions, problems, concerns that were coming up, and I have always felt the same exact way. A little bit of my background, I have been a general manager most of my life. Most of it has been in retail. I work with a lot of P&Ls. I've always had to forecast what we were doing for the next couple of years, adjust. I've always led a very large team, and I've always been very successful. So the financial aspect of being a commissioner isn't anything I'm afraid of. The hardest part that this has been for me is this interview with the community. That's the only thing I've been struggling with, just because, not because I don't know most of you, it's just because I'm not real great at speaking in front of people. There's a lot of concerns coming in. I've been talking to people, and I feel like Boundary County right now is what I would call experiencing a Category 5 hurricane. We have the sheriff department, landfill issues, we've got the community hospital starting to talk about needing help. We've got road and bridge. There's just so many things out here. And subdivisions coming in, developers not covering all the costs. I'm worried about fire trucks not being able to get into the homes. There's just so much out there, and the more I've dug into it, the more I've realized and have so much respect for what Tim and Commissioner Pinkerton and,
Ben Robertson.
Ben, I know he's probably gonna kill me.
Time.
Thank you. But I am available later for more questions.
Before I get started, I just want to pause and burn maybe 10 seconds of my time to recognize the civil discourse between these two commissioners. I have been on the campaign trail myself a number of times, and it's not every day that you can put individuals in a room, in a political environment, and have individuals running for the same position treat each other civilly and with respect. So I applaud you both. With that said, my name is Benjamin Allen, and I am running for district judge here in the 1st Judicial District. I currently serve as the elected prosecuting attorney in Shoshone County. I was originally appointed to that position, and I have since run for re-election to retain my seat twice now. The judicial vacancy that has arose here in the 1st Judicial District is a rare opportunity for you as voters to be able to voice your opinion for who you want to be sitting on the bench in your district. It is not only rare because judicial elections themselves are rare, where there are multiple candidates that you get to pick from, but the fact that we are filling a vacancy using an election is even more rare. So I say that as an introduction into really why this position is of such significance to you all as voters, and why I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be here in front of you all this evening to introduce myself, to tell you about the position, and to encourage you to get out and vote on May 19th. And this time around, do not leave the judicial section blank. It matters and it has meaning to it. To talk about my background a little bit, I've grown up my entire life in Idaho. I grew up as a rural small town farm kid. My family had a cattle ranch in central Idaho. I've practiced my entire life in Idaho, and I've had the pleasure of working really at every single level of our court systems. I started out in Shoshone County back in 2014. At that point in time, I was working for the U.S. Attorney's Office doing federal prosecution. I was asked to go out to Shoshone County and assist with a felony homicide trial. So I had that opportunity to go out there, and in just a year out of law school, I actually got to sit in a courtroom and try a homicide case. So I got thrown right into the fire. Since that time, I worked my way up the ladder, starting out as an entry-level deputy, then being promoted to chief deputy, and then ultimately to the elected position. I'm also one of the few elected prosecuting attorneys that has argued cases at all levels of our court system. I have even argued cases at our Supreme Court level myself. So I think that that's of significance because it's given me the opportunity to see every aspect of our courts. I think through the course of questioning, I'll have an opportunity tonight to share a little bit more about what that experience looks like. But I'm just excited to have you all in the room and to have the opportunity to speak to you tonight. So thank you for having me.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming, and I want to thank 9BPAC for putting this on. We appreciate all the work you've done for us. My name is Pam Barton, and I'm running for Boundary County Clerk. I am the current Chief Deputy Clerk. I've been working under the clerk for the last 7 years. Before that, I worked at the Restorium as the Assistant Administrator for 6 years, so I've worked a total of 13 years for the county. In the clerk's office, there are a lot of duties. I started out as a revenue clerk, worked my way up. I did accounts payable, I worked elections. I've done several elections, including 2 presidential elections, and the 2021 was very challenging. The dynamics changed greatly that year for the elections. I've done a lot of recording. I've done all aspects of the clerk's office. I am currently the personnel director for the county. I'm also payroll clerk under the clerk. And with those duties, we have 160 employees for the county. So it's all aspects of those, whether it's submitting documents to the federal, state, county, city. I pay the taxes for the city and the state. Quite a few different hats I wear. I do the quarterly reporting. So I do the annual reports like the W-2s and the 1099 submissions to those government entities. I work closely with quite a few different state entities, know several by name, gone to several events such as clerks conferences, election conferences, got some training there. Had some training with the courts, doing the revenues for the courts down in Boise. So between, kitty. So between the clerk's office and the 6 years at the Restorium, what I did there is I administered a lot of the billing and streamlined that. Set up the Medicaid billing so that a lot of residents could actually come into the Restorium and have their health care taken care of. Before that, it was really hard to get in there. It was, you had to have private pay, and it was just very difficult to have that much money saved for insurance for that. Before that, I was a office manager for Newmeyer Mills. I don't know if any of you guys know that, are aware of that. So I did all aspects of the mill. I did payroll, I did accounts receivable, payable, did the tallying for all the logs that came in, helped customers, that kind of thing. Me and my family, I was raised here. I came in my first grade. I'm married to my husband Jamie for 42 years. We have 5 kids. My job previous to the mill is I worked in Alaska for 7 years for a company called 3 Bears of Alaska, and I was assistant manager there.
Time.
And I thank you very much for your time.
Hi everybody, my name is Stacie Watts and I'm also running for Boundary County Clerk. I have lived here in Boundary County since 2016 and I've been married to my husband Caleb for 9 years. Some of you may know me. I did previously work in the clerk's office as a revenue deputy, and I'm also the vice chairperson for the Boundary County Fair Board, and I also do several community events around horses, barrel races, horse shows, play days, things like that. So currently, my experience, I'm a senior service specialist with Edward Jones. And I'm a fixer, so I do a lot of balancing, finding errors in statements, finding errors in people's accounts, and correcting them, helping branches and clients as well with any of those. Prior to that, I have worked for Medtronic. I was part of a team that got medical devices approved for use in the human body. I did receive the Medtronic Star of Excellence Award for contributions and accuracy for approval of several major medical devices. When I worked in the county clerk's office as the revenue deputy, I processed all of the funds coming into the county. I also did taxing district allocations, the fixed asset maintenance, the county surplus auction. I also worked on elections and the initial submissions of recorded documents prior to them being electronically recorded. I was a passport agent, did absentee voting, and also an Idaho public notary. Prior to that, I've also had to do inventory control and regulatory reporting for controlled substances in the medical field. I'm running for county clerk because it's one of the most critical operational roles in our county government, and it requires more than just a familiarity with the office. I don't just understand the theory of the job, I understand the responsibilities. So what I can bring to the office, I have a proven track record of excellence and accountability. I've led teams all over the United States and around the world. And I have 30 seconds, so thank you for your time.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here. Turned on. It's on. The mic switch. Turn it on? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's wonderful to see such an engaged community, and I'm grateful that you are here. My name is Kichenmaster, and I also am running for county clerk. I believe in simple principles for our life, and one of those principles I live by is see a need, fill a need. And I saw a need for fresh perspective, transparency, and servant-hearted leadership. And when God says go, I believe we're supposed to rise up, step in, and serve. So who am I? Well, another principle that I have is my foundation, and that is faith, family, and freedom. My faith guides how I live, how I treat others, and how I make decisions. My family is a priority. I have been married for 38 years. I have 2 children, and my grandbabies keep me entertained. They're very energetic, and they fill me with a lot of joy. And then thirdly, freedom. I deeply value the freedoms that we've been given in this country through our Constitution, and I value those who have defended it as our veterans as well. So speaking of freedom, we moved from Washington in 2020
It was a time where many people were reevaluating what mattered most. And what we found in Idaho was a strong community, common sense government, and shared values that aligned very well with ours. We are grateful to call this place home. We enjoy camping and hiking and just enjoying time in the beautiful North Idaho. So currently I am executive assistant and credentialing specialist at Bonner General Hospital. With that role, I spend a lot of time doing administrative, working with the board, the hospital district. I'm secretary of the hospital district, as well as the board with the hospital. My other background, which has prepared me for this role, includes leadership, administrative, financial accountability, record keeping, and customer service. My education includes a degree in business, where I learned great customer experience, financial accountability, and also I have experience in data management. I've worked in healthcare and retail, hospitality, and computer industry. The clerk's office is the intersection of people and government. Am I good? And this office must have public confidence. My goal is to handle information with care, report clearly, and build trust with the public. At the end of the day, this role is about stewardship.
Time.
Thank you so much for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, for our very first question, would you all please stand, and we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Our very first question is the only question that is for all of the candidates. And we'll start with you this time. And the question is, what motivated you to run for office?
That's a pretty big question. I think what motivated me the most was I started seeing a lot of issues that were coming up that I hadn't normally noticed. I had a lot of community members coming up to me, friends, neighbors, talking to me about it and really encouraging me to run for office. I love this community, I love Boundary County, and I love the people here. You guys are family to me. When I lost my youngest son, Joey, a few years ago, this community rallied for me and was there every minute after he passed. So it's my turn to give back to you guys. I want to serve my community the best ability that I can. And I definitely don't have the knowledge Tim has behind him, but I learned quickly. I have spent the last 2 months talking to the heads of every community member in this town, from April Bennett to Travis Stoley to people who work up the landfill, Road and Bridge. I have been digging into absolutely everything that I could to do kind of a quick learning. And meanwhile, I have been going to school. I'm working on getting my real estate license, and then I start pre-law this fall. So I've had a lot on my plate, but I'm pushing through, and this position means the world to me because I need to give back to my community as much as they've given to me my entire life. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Yeah, sorry.
Why am I running? Why am I running again? That's a good question. Why I run again is the fact that there are things that I want to see get done and come to fruition. And that would be the GNA that we have just working on signing with the Forest Service. which is huge for our county. It would make it to where we could then have more work on the landscape. It's not only about jobs, but it's also about wildfire and having our community protected from wildfire. Plus with the GNA, then we could retain 25% receipts, which will help our county out also. Because we cannot bank on PILT payments, that's payment in lieu of taxes, or SRS funds. Those will go away at some point in time. I've been back to DC talking to Congress officials, and there's a lot of states, they don't understand PILT. They don't really want to pay for the federal land. And we get a fraction of the money that we should. So that's where I'm at with that, as far as running that. Also seeing some of our parks, Riverside Park, I'd like to see that we have applied for grants to make that an even better park than it is now. And it would be great to see that come to fruition. That's pretty much where I'm at with that. So that's what I have. That's why I'm running. Get more things done and serve this community. I've always felt a great pride in our community. I went around the United States with my mom and dad and knew this is where I wanted to stay and land at. And that's why I've been here my whole life. So that's what I have.
The reason why I am running for a judicial seat here in the 1st Judicial District really goes back to, I hope, a common thread among all of these candidates that you'll hear tonight, and that is a heart for public service. There's a reason why I'm currently in an elected role, and there's a reason why I continue to identify ways that me and my family can be a part of our community, can continue to serve our community, and can continue to represent the values that our community wants to see here to keep North Idaho, North Idaho. With that said, as a prosecuting attorney working inside of the judicial system, I've had an opportunity to really grow and develop a respect for the influence that our judges have on shaping our communities. Just about every one of us here in this room tonight, I'm sure, has been involved in some matter that has been in a courtroom at some point in time. Those matters are important to you. Those matters may have involved you personally, may have involved loved ones of yours, or may have involved issues that are important in your family values. Because of that, I recognize that the judges making those decisions are viewing the law, applying the law, and trying to ascertain the proper lens that our laws are intended to be interpreted through. That lens really reflects the value systems that are in our society. And that's the reason why we can have case precedent within our state that's overturned by a labor court. It's the reason why we can have a Supreme Court decision one year, and then a different composition of judges the next year views that law through a different lens. Because of that, I recognize that the decisions that are being made by our judges are crucial to the future of our communities, and I hope to be able to serve our community in a capacity to help make those decisions.
Okay, so why was I motivated to run for office? I've been approached by several different members of the community over the last few years. One in particular was a very close family friend who over the last 3 to 5 years continued to ask if this was of interest to me. I had expressed interest in it and continually grilled me. If you know Dave Wink, you'll know that he's going to grill you and ask you all the questions and make you crazy. But Dave unexpectedly passed away in January. And at that time, I wasn't sure if I was still going to continue to run, but I still have the interest, and I still have the voice inside saying, you need to do this. I brought you to this, so you need to follow through. And I feel that I'm a good fit for that position as well.
So why was I motivated to run? Well, the clerk's office touches so many different places, from court records to the elections, and there's so many pieces of this that everybody in the public has interacted with the clerk role in some manner, and I do hear different things that are coming up, and in that, I, as I said, see a need, fill a need, and I see a need for transparency. I see a need for customer-focused service, and for servant-hearted leadership, and those are roles that I believe that I can fill. And as I contemplated whether I wanted to do this or not, it was suggested to me that I do. My background does fit it well, and as I prayed about it and contemplated it, I realized that this is something that I do want to do. I want to serve. I'm ready to serve, and I come from a background that is, I've worked, not necessarily in county government, but I have worked my whole life, and I bring a perspective from that business model and from my experience and my education in business. So that's why. So why do I want to run for county clerk? I took quite a while deciding whether or not to run for county clerk. I've worked with Glenda for several years, and I know all the duties she does. I know the difficulties that she has. I'm right beside her taking care of those difficulties. Every day is a challenge in the office. Today alone, I had a new software program for our Percy, which is our retirement program. Battled it all day. By the end of the day, we tackled it, and we got that processed. Every day is a new challenge, whether it's for the community or for the office, for our workers. There's a challenge every day. As my opponent stated, there are a lot of duties that she has learned as the revenue clerk, and each position that you have, there's a few more layers. And I've been there for 7 years and done several of the jobs. So I don't know that you can ever learn enough in that office serving that time, but you do learn layers, and that is the biggest reason I decided to run, is because I would hate to see someone go in there that didn't have the knowledge. Our county relies on our office, our duties. If you don't do it correctly, something can go seriously wrong with the budget or with an election. Without the experience, I'm concerned for our community. Thank you.
Being as gracious as we are, we save the first question for the out-of-town kid. When I first moved here 46 years ago, I was looking at houses with Monk Shillman, and I said, Monk, everybody treats me like a Californian. I'm a fourth generation Idahoan from Bertling. He said, Bertling, listen boy, here we consider Lewiston, southern Idaho, where you come from, Utah. So when Benjamin says he comes from central Idaho, I don't know where he comes from. But the very first question, Benjamin, is, would the Idaho Department of Corrections overcrowding issue affect your sentencing decision?
Well, thank you for that question, Dave, and I love that question because the answer, frankly, for me is no. I have witnessed sentences around our state that I think any reasonable person from the outside would scratch their head and try to grab for some sort of justification for that sentence. And I think one of those justifications that we have seen throughout our state is the fact that our state prison system is overcrowded. Our state prison system has been making decisions based upon that overcrowding, and that overcrowding is affecting our communities. I don't think that that's the responsibility of our judges. I don't think that it's their job to be concerned with IDOC's population, IDOC's budget, or IDOC's capacity. I think that's a legislative issue. I hope that our legislature is able to address it. I hope that we can allocate the appropriate funding to ensure that individuals that do not belong in our communities, in order for our communities to stay safe, are able to be put in a location where they can get rehabilitation, where they can get programming, and where we do not compromise community safety because of budget constraints. Thank you.
Our next question is for the clerk candidates. We will start with you, Kim. The county clerk wears many hats. Clerk of the district court, auditor, recorder, clerk of the board of county commissioners, and chief elections officers. Duties encompassing managing court records, overseeing elections, maintaining financial records, and ensuring compliance with local government regulations. To accomplish this, the clerk often supervises several county employees. What supervisory experience have you had that prepares you for this position?
Thank you, Dave. So the question is, the clerk wears many hats and has a team that needs the support and leadership. And what leadership experience have I had in managing people? I have been a manager for retail businesses, hotels, restaurants, spent a lot of time leading organizations and teams in that manner. My background is retail management is very challenging because you have the public that you need to be responsive to, and keeping everything going and so forth. And so I've led that team. I've also led operational environmental services teams where for hazmat events, I have played the role of planning officer and operations manager and leading those on multi-million-dollar projects. And so I have a leadership background in, I homeschooled my children. I ran the co-op and the homeschool the homeschool organization where I came from back in Oregon. And so I have all those different combination of leadership skills. In addition, where I am now, I do a leadership role as far as leading the boards and making sure that they're getting what they need and so forth. And that is an administrative background role of leadership, and it is still very important. So, thank you.
So the question is my leadership abilities. So I think I'll start back when I worked in Alaska. I worked for the retail corporation, Three Bears of Alaska. Three Bears of Alaska worked closely with Costco. Our software was integrated with Costco. I did the purchasing for our store. I managed the employees. I did the scheduling. I hired, I fired. I programmed the software, the POS software that our store used. I flew to other locations where they had other stores, trained their staff, taught them how to use the software there. Worked really, like I said, worked really closely with Costco. I worked closely with their purchasing agents. They would come to me and ask, what do you want us to buy? We at one time we were the largest purchasers from Costco nationwide, so it was a very large corporation. It was based mostly in Alaska. They have one location in Montana, I believe. I don't know now if they have any more, but and I also managed the office at Newmeyer Mills, and of course, now as personnel director, I work with 160 employees for the county. They all reach out when they have a problem to me. Some are resolved, some aren't, but we do our best to make everyone happy as much as we can. There's always going to be interactions that there's people. So people sometimes don't work so well together, and sometimes we find the things they have in common and the common goals, and we focus on those. And also, I also ran I administered at the Restorium also. So thank you very much.
The next question is for the commissioners.
Did I forget you? I wrote it down too.
Okay, so in terms of supervisory experience, I have many levels of supervisor experience. When I worked for Medtronic, I managed a department from marketing, peripheral, regulatory, design, and the Office of Medical Affairs. Each of those team members were made up, were located in different regions of the United States, Minneapolis, Texas, California, as well as Ireland, Italy, and Japan. And I managed all of those teams. And currently, I manage a team of 12 service specialists 1 and 2 at Edward Jones. Prior to that, I was a lead vet tech at an equine facility, and I managed all of the vet techs and trained all the vet techs that came up underneath me. So I've managed lots of teams.
Okay, for the commissioners. We'll start with you, Tim. Do you think developers pay their fair share? If not, do you feel charging developers more will affect the price of housing?
One with developers in our county, and whenever they build something out in the county and it is rented out, they don't get the homeowner's exemption that everyone does get that has and owns a home. So in that respect, I would say they are paying their fair share, because if we don't have reasonable rents here, we don't have cabinet shops, we don't have the people to power our county to move it forward. So we need reasonable housing to do that. As far as bigger developments, absolutely. If we have some things, they are held to a standard where they have to upgrade road approaches to county roads. So there is that going on to that extent. As far as to charge them above and beyond, that would affect rent for lower income people. And so we need those people to run our gas stations and help out as cashiers. So we need to have reasonable housing and rent to do so.
Okay, so this may be one thing that Tim and I do disagree on. A lot of the concern that has come to my attention by our community is the development that's going on in our community. I do believe that the developers need to pay their fair share as far as infrastructure. I think we need to, this is such a tough one because, you know, I know I have some personal friends that are developers, but I do believe that they need to pay their fair share. I think for the roads, fire safety, you know, there was a couple things brought up about how trucks are not able to get down certain roads because of that. And you know, if they're gonna bring housing to our community, which I agree with Tim, we desperately do need, our community is growing so fast. But yeah, I support developers paying more. I don't believe the taxpayers need to be stuck with that in the end. But yeah, I mean, I could go more, but I do believe developers need to spend more. I don't want my community paying for, you know, big lots with bigger homes. It's not going to affect the housing costs for them. But yeah, that's one of the places Tim and I do disagree on. So, thank you.
This one's for the clerks, and we'll go right down the line. As county clerk, one of your responsibilities as ex officio auditor is to process and pay claims each month. Our county is consistently late in paying our bills because of an inefficient process. Will you commit to finding a better process?
That's true.
Hi, thank you for the question. So, working for the clerk's office, I have paid the claims. We do pay once a month. It's mandated by the state it's the second Monday of the month, I believe. So there is mandates on that. We can pay more often than that. We do have demands every Monday that if there's a bill that is due and it has to be paid in a timely manner, we do process that claim and we give it over to the commissioners and they sign it. They have a stack every Monday that does pay those bills. Our current person that works the claims is pretty good about pulling those out and knowing which ones need to be paid within a timely manner. And we try to set up our vendors so that they're aware of the 30-day time frame. With the tax allocations, there's twice a year that we pay those. That's the taxing distributions. That's one of the things that we do pay by warrant. January and July, we can pay them a little bit later. That's also state regulated. So there's different ideas, and I don't know that I wouldn't be open to paying claims twice a month. I think that's within reason. It used to be that I was doing the claims all by myself, and personnel, and payroll, and all the other duties of the clerk's office. And now we do have another clerk that pays the claims, so she does have more time. It is something to consider. I do think that we should consider it. So, thank you.
So in regard to claims being paid late, I'm very aware of that. It has not happened to me, but it has happened to people that I'm close to, where they have gone to a hotel for a work-related reason and are not able to use their credit card because the credit card hasn't been paid, or they haven't been able to get gas because the bill hasn't been paid. So absolutely, yes, I would commit to getting those bills paid on time.
So the question was, will you commit to making this better? And absolutely, I would commit to examining this issue, figuring out what we can do differently, working with the staff to come up with ideas, and make this the best process that we possibly can. So I would commit to diving in and doing everything that we can to make that happen for the public.
For the commissioners, and we'll start with Debra on this one. Boundary County is unique in bordering two states, Washington and Montana, as well as a foreign country. Does this make your job different from other county commissioners whose counties only border other Idaho counties? And if so, how?
Well, to be quite honest with you, that is something that has not come up, and that's an excellent question, whoever put that one in. I honestly can't speak to it. It's not anything I have researched. I've been more focused on the community and our issues that we have going on here. I would assume that there would be something different with our Canadian border up there, but as far as anything else, that's something I'm going to have to sit down and really research, and then I can speak to it, which I'm more than happy to do, either on my commissioner's page or privately. You're always welcome to give me a call and we can sit down and meet up. But that's what I have to say with that one.
It does make us unique, and where that comes in is the fact that our mill and moyer should be getting a lot more of their supply out of Montana. That's where we as commissioners, we need to basically have more engagement with Montana commissioners and try to loop that in so we can see more treatment on the land up the Yak and in the Kootenai River District. So that's where one thing is really different. The other thing is, we're in Canada, we inherit certain things from them. Right now, we are dealing with the selenium issue that's coming out of BC that is elevating the selenium in the Kootenai River. So that makes us unique for the fact that we have to deal with that. It makes fish deformed. It could become a problem at some point in time. And that's where we are unique. We're also unique for the fact that we are sandwiched in between two states that have legalized marijuana. And that makes it where it's a lot easier to come into our county, which in turn is not great for our county. That's for sure. It puts more strain on our legal system, but that is out of our control as commissioner. The only thing we can do is support our law enforcement, which I do, and strive to make improvements there best we can. Thank you.
The next question is for the clerk candidates, and we'll go with Stacie and Kim. Tell us about all of your work experience over the past 10 years, including name of employers, length of employment, and description of duties.
Well, that should be easy because I've only lived here for the last 10 years. So when I first moved here, I worked for the Bonners Ferry Herald as a advertising representative, and I worked there from June of 2016 to October of 2016. Then I went to the clerk's office, and I worked as a revenue deputy in the clerk's office from October of 2016 to March of 2019, I think. And then I worked at the city of Bonners Ferry as a billing clerk for water and power. And I worked there from April 1st of 2019 to the end of January 2020. And then after that, there was COVID, and we all know what happened with COVID. And after that, in June of 2020, I started working for Kichenmaster Community Health as an enrollment counselor. So I helped community members sign up for Medicaid and get insurance and find them resources if they didn't have heating, and help them pay for other bills, utility bills and things. Then I left Kichenmaster Community Health in October of 2021 to work at Edward Jones, where I started as a service specialist 1, and now I'm a senior service specialist with Edward Jones.
Okay, the question is, what was our background? What is the last 10 years of our experience? So I am currently at Bonner General Health. I work as executive assistant and credentialing specialist. I support the CEO and the CFO, support the board of the hospital district, and I am a credentialing specialist, which means which means that I bring on, when the providers are brought on, I check their background, I run through all their certifications, backgrounds, etc. We have to meet compliance through Medicare, through the state, through our bylaws, and so forth. So I'm well aware of matching up what is happening to regulations and compliance. I've been there since November 23. Prior to that, I was here at Boundary Community Hospital doing accounts payable, where I matched up claims and expenses and made sure that what we were paying was what we had agreed we were needed to pay, etc., which directly matches up to ex officio or the officio auditor duties. Prior to that, I did rehab at Boundary. I've been at Boundary, I was at Boundary from 2020 to 2023. I did pre-authorization for rehab prior to that. And so let me go back another another few years, that would be, I was at Cadlick doing patient registration. I did that, and I was office manager and running the retail at grocery outlet that was in Tri-Cities. I was a manager there and office manager, doing all of their books and so forth. And that puts me right about
Time.
Benjamin?
Bam.
What? I really love the clerk candidates. There were two of them, I could handle it.
I'll be quick. I've worked for the county. I started in 2013, so I've been with the county ever since. I believe in consistency. You learn a lot, you get better at your duties. I believe that I've been serving the community in the ways I can, from working at the Restorium, helping with the residents. That's where I started working for the county, because I do love our residents. Before that, I worked 7 years at Newmeyer Mills. Before that, I worked for 7 years in Alaska, for 3 years of Alaska. So about 7 years, and here I am at 7 years running for another job. So, thank you.
Okay, Benjamin. I know you've been anticipating this. How would you handle a case where a party has chosen not to have legal representation?
So this type of matter in the justice system refers to a situation where an individual who decides to represent themselves chooses to move forward, whether it's by their own choice or whether it's because of financial constraints. There could be a number of reasons, and that individual in the court system is known as a pro se litigant. Pro se litigant matters are common. We do see them in the court system, although I would perhaps argue that they're much more common at the magistrate level of the courts than they are the district court level, although both courts will encounter pro se litigants. I think the question really is answered best if we analyze our role as a judge, understanding that every person that enters our courtroom should be treated with fairness, respect, and dignity. If we're accounting for those three things, I think we start out on a level playing field. Every individual who's going to come into that courtroom treated with fairness, respect, and dignity should feel as though they have an opportunity to represent themselves if they choose. With that said, the legal profession is a very complex and professionalized area of work. In order to be a licensed attorney in Idaho, you have to have completed a bachelor's degree, you have to have a doctorate in law, which for most individuals will take approximately 7 years of schooling. When you complete all of that, you get to sit for a bar exam, where Idaho's bar passage rates oftentimes barely eclipse 50%, which means that you can have individuals that go through all of that schooling and still don't get to practice law in Idaho. Because of that, our court rules are very rigid, and individuals entering into the courtroom, representing themselves or representing others, are held to the same set of rules. And because of that, I think that as a judge, we need to approach every case with that same perspective so that every matter is handled the same. Thank you.
This is for the commissioners. Whose turn is it? I'm glad you guys are on top of it. You're the candidates. I hope I pronounced this right. Would you support a county ordinance banning the sale of Kraton in Boundary County?
Oh, good question.
Yes, but I think you have to go more than that. I think you have to then go down to your legislature and put pressure on them to tackle that issue. It shouldn't just be for our county. It should be for the whole state. Because if you just do it in our county, some people won't get it. Then they just have to go down through the county, down across the county line. So what good, I mean, that's where we need to put influence. We need to put influence on our legislature to tackle that problem. We can look at that, but it'll have a lot more teeth if they do that at the state level.
This one's kind of difficult for me, just because you have to understand what it is and where it comes from. My perspective may be a little bit different, but I also understand where that question came from. My son took it during his last days with cancer just because it did help ease the pain that he was going through. I have a sister who takes it for her fibromyalgia, and it works great, but there's also the downside to it. So would I ban it completely? You know, that's like the Mary Jane question. Would I ban marijuana or legalize it? You know, the answer is probably community-wise, yes, I would. Health-wise or in need, by doctor only. Do your research on it, you guys. I did it extensively while Joey was still with us. And it'll destroy your liver if not used properly. So for me, that's a little bit difficult to say yes or no, but in general, with children having availability and our young adults without the knowledge, absolutely, I would be on board to banning it altogether without doctors' written permission.
For the clerks, and we'll go 1, 2, 3. Hopefully. Would you release voter roll information to the federal government?
I'm not quite sure of the question. Would I release information to the federal government about voter roll information? I would follow the state guidelines set up by the Secretary of State. That's the way we have to follow the rules, so we can't do anything but what they mandate. Thank you.
As Pam said, that's not a clerk's decision. We would have to go with what the Secretary of State says.
I can't add anything different because we need to follow what Idaho code is, and so.
For the commissioners, what are the top budget concerns and priorities for the following departments? Landfill, road and bridge, sheriff.
Well, that's a tough one. There's just so much. The one that I can speak to the most is the sheriff department, just because I did spend quite a bit of time with Travis and understanding the things that he's going through and how he's already over budget for maintenance and how much a female being in the jail system is costing our jail, or lack of, because they require so many beds. And when I say that, not because they need to sleep in 4 beds, but there has to be a separation by law. And especially when you're dealing with mental health. And so one person in there can take up 4 beds. Well, each bed has a dollar value to them. I know with the building having many, many issues, and I'm sure you guys have all heard about those. You know, I personally feel bad for him because he's really in a pickle, and I hope our community supports him when he starts asking for funds to help him get the new building in. As far as the landfill, there's a couple things that he's gonna know a lot more about it just because he's already in the position, but what I have researched and stuff, I'm not quite sure the purchase for the fire burner was the right thing, considering it can only burn green fuel. The grinder was a great idea. I love how they're implementing the chip, but there was some other things that we could have done to kind of help get this.
Time.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I'll tackle these one at a time. I'll go with the landfill right off the bat. The ACI, why that was what is the fact that we will always have wood waste in this county. Trees keep growing, brush keeps growing, and that's one way to take care of it is with the ACI. The grinder, we needed to get rid of that wood pile, and so I drove over to Missoula, looked at the machine. My background, I know machinery, and we got a really good buy on that machine. And so now we can mix that with 50% soil and mix that in for top cover. The big thing concerned with the landfill really was the fact that we were looking at it getting shut down. Now with it not getting shut down, we don't have to look at a tipping deck, which would have been millions of dollars that we didn't have. So now we can move on and really be more productive with the landfill and how it's ran. Road and bridge concerns there is just the fact that with our GNA program going into effect, we should be able to bring funds in, federal funds to help that out with doing jobs with the Forest Service here and there. That'll bring extra funds in to the county. With the Sheriff's Department, the big thing is we need to voice our opinion and lean on our legislature so we can have a local option sales tax so we can build a jail for our county. So we don't have to run a bond so we can pull in that money. That's where we have to get some influence on the state legislature. We thought we had it, but that fell through. But that's where we need to go with it. We have an aged jail. I've been through it many times, and that's where we're at with that one. Thank you.
Time.
For the clerk candidates, the clerk auditor's job is to create and monitor the county budget. Do you have experience in budgeting, and do you budget your own personal finances? We'll go this way.
The question is, do I have experience in budgeting and do I budget my own personal finances? In my roles with accounts payable, that also led to budgeting, reviewing of budgets. In my roles as with the hospital district, I do have oversight and review of those budgets. I do budget my own personal yes, I budget my own personal finances, and so I have experience through many different ways that I have touched the budget. So there's my answer.
When I worked with Medtronic, I managed a multi-million-dollar marketing budget as well as sales budget. Roughly, the two of them added together $9 million. And then, yes, I do manage my own personal budget. My husband manages his budget. I manage my budget. And currently, I do a lot of balancing of budgets for my department at Edward Jones. And
So budgeting. The clerk's office, the role of the clerk and the auditor is budgeting. You are doing the budgeting for the county. I have assisted with the budget. Every month I balance the accounts in the budget, line item with the treasurer. So I go through and each department has different expenditures and I go through that every month and line item balance those. I also balance the taxes that are distributed for the property taxes. After they're allocated every month, I get a statement from the treasurer and I go through line item by line item and balance all those taxes. And we have to match exactly. We're audited every year by an outside auditor, and we've had 7 years since I've been there. The clerk's had many more than that, but I have 7 years of good audits. We have no charges on our audits. We also have our own business, and we have good credit with our business, good personal credit. We do our own books ourselves for our personal books. We do have, because I'm limited on time, we don't do our books for our business other than, well, he pays his own bills. But but the audit of it, the accounts at the end of the year, we do have done by a tax person. But overall, I'm very familiar with budgets. At Newmar Mills, I did the budget there. I learned accounts payable, receivable, ran Peachtree software there, QuickBooks at the Restorium, and also point of sales in Kenai. Thank you.
For the commissioners, why are county residents being denied the ability to address the county government's grievances by denying their right to be added to the county commission agenda? I was told the Boundary County Commissioners removed information on their website of residents having the inherent right to address grievances to the county commission.
Well, I will say that as far as grievances, if anyone comes into our office, we take on anyone. They can come in and talk to us. We have people come in all the time, and if we have time, then we will talk to them about that grievance. We had a person that came into our office that had a chicken problem, and we listened to her about what was going on with her neighbor and the chickens. So I don't understand exactly where that's coming from, other than the fact that if it's directed to a different department and we have no influence over it, then they're probably, barking up the wrong tree with us. But as far as, people coming in, we listen to everyone that comes in. And then we get some random, people coming in from the county to ask random questions. And like I said, if we have time, we will address those questions and do our best. And if we have to, we'll tell them, get on the agenda and come back in, and we will talk about it. And if there's something we can do, we will try to do what we can about their problem.
I heard only half of that question, so I'm just gonna kind of go with the flow with what Tim was talking about. But I have to say that is one of the biggest things that multiple people have reached out to me, that they feel like they're not being heard by our county commissioners, whether they're showing up at a meeting or just want to talk. And one of the things that I would like to do, especially on our Monday, Tuesday meetings, is I would like to either bring in Facebook Live or a Zoom where everybody can attend no matter where they're at. The only thing that they would have to understand, and this is something that I had learned, is every topic that is on the agenda has to start at a specific time. So we have to make that very clear. But I think commissioners just need to be open to everyone. I know it's time consuming, trust me. I probably take 40 phone calls a day and all the text messages, but I'm not in the position yet, but You know, it's just important to me because you guys are the ones paying us to do the job. It's your tax dollars coming into the bank account that we have to manage. And if you guys have questions, we need to answer them. You know, we have to be able to speak to what we're doing and why we're doing it. And to tell somebody that we don't have time for it or to remove information off of something is inappropriate and unacceptable in my eyes. And you will never ever find that with me. I don't care what time of day it is. I'm gonna take some time to stop and speak with you.
Benjamin, describe your experiences working with juries and witnesses.
So that's a great question. As I started with, I've worn many different hats in the legal profession, and I've had an opportunity to try just about every level of case in Idaho. As far as juries are concerned in particular, really you have to be in the courtroom trying cases in order to interact with juries. So for those that aren't as familiar with the practice of law, there are a number of different types of attorneys. There are attorneys that would be referred to as litigators, and those are the types of attorneys that oftentimes are taking cases to trial. There are also transactional attorneys that primarily do their work inside the confines of an office and don't historically spend a lot of time in the courtroom. There's lots of other types of attorneys, but I'll just keep to those two categories because those are probably the two broadest categories. Because of the way my practice has been structured, I've had the opportunity both as a prosecuting attorney to really be a litigator and be in the courtroom often, as well as doing transactional law through my private firm. So I've had the opportunity to assist clients with matters of business law expertise, with trust wills, probates, estates, gun trust, landlord-tenant law, aspects of the law that would be considered more transactional. So I think those two categories are both important. And as far as my experience with, as far as juries are concerned, my experience as a criminal law attorney has given me that exposure. In Shoshone County in particular, we are blessed to have a very robust victim-witness coordination system. It's pretty rare that a county of Shoshone size, where I'm the elected prosecutor at, actually has a dedicated victim-witness coordinator. We do have that position in our office. And because of that, I would argue that we have much more victims contacts as a prosecuting attorney than most other prosecutors might have.
Okay, we will have one more question for each group. Clerks, the county payroll process is done via an Excel sheet and requires a person to add hours for every employee manually. Timesheet errors happen consistently due to human error. Do you think this is an efficient process? And if not, will you prioritize finding a better solution?
I actually brought this up at a meeting a couple weeks ago about the timesheet system that Boundary County uses is archaic. It's done in some county employees do theirs by hand with a pencil. Some of them do them in Excel spreadsheets. There is a lot of room for error. There are, in this day, there's no reason to be using handwritten paper timesheets. Do I think it's an effective use of funds? No, I don't. When I worked in the clerk's office, I often helped the chief deputy at that time, and she would have me read off the times to her, and then she would enter them, and then we would go through them again, and between the two of us, it probably took 8 hours. And no, I don't think that's efficient at all.
I believe that there's far more efficient ways to do this process. Applications out there. There are definitely ways that we can look and explore and find different methods to do it within, because we need to move forward and we need to let go of some of these processes that have been there for so long. And I realize that funds can be an issue, but I'm looking for different ways in order to fund this, and bring us up to date in things such as our payroll is very important.
So I think that is a great question. And in theory, I agree with these two. But when I process the payroll, one of the things that you realize is we have a county-specific software that we use in our office. There are other departments that do use that software in different limited capacities. I believe the sheriff's office uses Computer Arts or Harris now. They use it for their 911 programming. But there's a lot of departments that don't. We have people out at the Port Hill Junction that don't have internet service most of the time. We have a lawnmower at the Parks and Rec whose overseers meet once a month. So there's no opportunity for that person to go and do a programming and fill out a programming and upload it to me. There's just dynamics that may work on a different kind of company or on a smaller scale, like maybe the city. It's more functional for the city, but with the county and the varied, we have people that are out working different shifts, maybe working at Road and Bridge, and they don't necessarily go to the office, or there's just dynamics that don't always work. Going forward, I would love to see our software grow and that we can implement it and pay it for every department and someday do that. But in reality, at this point in time, it is not a feasible, reasonable, it's a very costly expense if we had to put that software into each department and integrate it and teach everyone how to use it. And there's a lot of people that still don't know how to use computers, believe it or not. So it's in reality, it's difficult for the county, but in theory, it's great. Thank you.
For the commissioners, the North Bench Fire District Fire Station 1 rents out Boundary County Airport land for $7,000 a year. The airport manager has said that when the lease expires in 3 years, that it is likely it will not be renewed, or if it is renewed, it would be at fair market rate that they cannot afford. Commissioners have authority to declare the fire station support emergency response to the airport. Will you commit to keeping our fire station where it is to save the residents thousands?
One, as far as it being done and moved in 3 years, no, there's no reason. Now, we can only do a 5-year lease on that property. And it would be the same as what another hangar lease would be for another person in the hangar. So we would extend it out another 5 years. To kick it out, I mean, I really would, it should be there, I think. But as far as to extend that lease out, that's not a big deal to do that. As far as to make it an airport support, it can't become that because we have to have a passenger airline coming in every day with 9 or less passengers to qualify for that designation, which we don't. So that option's out. But as far as to have it stay there, we're all in agreement of that. I would say until the FAA comes in and physically says you got to move it or takes away funding, that's whenever they would force our hand. But as of now, I don't see any reason to push that button to do anything to kick them out. They do have 5 acres above 3 Mile that they can build a fire station on, but they need time to do that. They need to figure out if they're going to be a taxing district. And to do that, they need a petition. They also need to take and figure out their boundaries. Where are they going to serve? So there's a lot of moving parts here, but as far as to kick them out, that's not even on our agenda to even think about that at this point in time.
Yeah, Tim has pretty much stated everything that I firmly believe in. I would never request that they leave. It's just not feasible right now for them. And yeah, I just can't even add to that because I agree with him 100%.
We have one more question for Benjamin, but don't leave after that because we're going to give everybody 2 minutes to sum up. Before we get that far, though, this is Boundary County. I think they've done a great job. Can we hear it for everybody here? And you guys too. You've been a very attentive, wonderful audience. So, Benjamin, what specifically makes you the most qualified candidate for a position on the bench?
Thanks, Dave, and even though we are going to get one more opportunity to grab a microphone, I do appreciate Dave and his team for putting this together. As far as my qualifications, I've reiterated a couple of times the level of practice that I've had the opportunity to experience here in Idaho. I do recognize that when you walk into a room and you're a practicing attorney. For me, I already hold an elected position. I'm familiar with getting the remarks about my age or about maybe how young I look. So I understand that, and I also understand that when I introduce myself to you all and ask for your vote to be your next judge in the 1st Judicial District, I recognize that that's a characteristic that I don't get to change. However, what I would say is that if you look at the body of work and what we've done over our decade plus of practice so far in Idaho, I think you will see that it's been very diverse, that we've seen just about every area of practice possible, that we've done everything from trying homicide cases, a quadruple homicide case at that, which our state has only had a couple of in our state's history. And you look at that on one end of the spectrum, and then you go to the other end and you look at things like drafting ordinances and regulations. You look at things like advising elected officials, handling everything from juvenile dockets to child protectives to mental holds. I think if it's an area of practice out there in some capacity or another, I've had the opportunity to touch it in some respects. I've served in very rural jurisdictions like I currently am, and I've served all the way up to the federal level assisting the U.S. Attorney's Office. I've been a practitioner as an attorney, and I have clerked for judges through internships in school. So I think that the array of practice during the course of my tenure as an attorney in the 1st Judicial District does encompass all areas that I would see as a judge, and because of that, I do believe I'm qualified.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've been getting all the accolades because I'm the guy out there, but I did not organize this. 9B Strong organized this. We have volunteers there. We have volunteers here. It takes a lot of energy. You're more than welcome to join us anytime and keep your eye on us. We're just for pragmatic, positive values and leadership in Boundary County, and that's what we support, and that's what we support here tonight with these candidates. We're going to give every candidate 2 minutes to sum up their candidacy and their desire to serve in this office, and we'll just go right along the lines.
Again, I'd like to thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to have community involvement, especially with a local election. I would like to, my strengths lie in being an administrator behind the scenes, making sure things happen operationally, walking beside people, leading by example, being a servant leader. My heart is to serve. I don't toot my own horn very well, and I often think of things to say again 10 minutes later. So campaigning has been a challenge for me, but I do have confidence that I can step into this role and learn. I love to learn. I love to dive in, ask questions. I am the staff that is at the county right now, that I will lean on them. I will ask questions, I will dive in, and I will do everything I can to learn what I can to serve this county to the best that I can.
Thank you guys all for being here today. This has been really great. The sad thing about these kind of forums is that as soon as you're done speaking, you say, I forgot to say that, and I forgot to say that, and I forgot to say that. So there are several things that I did forget to say, so I'll be available afterwards if you have more questions about any of my experience. I do want to say that there has been some suggestion that a person can't step into this role and do this job. But 22 years ago, that's exactly what happened when Glenda was appointed into this position. And she stepped into the job and she learned it, and she's been doing it for 22 years successfully. So to say that somebody can't step into that role, I don't believe it for a second. That's how leadership works. You step into the role, you do what you need to do, you make improvements where they need to be made, you make changes. Those are things that I'm looking forward to doing. And the difference is that I'm not starting from scratch. So my entire career has been built around all of the different responsibilities of this role, and I would be honored to earn your vote.
Thank you again for coming tonight. I just wanted to reiterate some of the duties that I personally have done in the last 7 years. Revenue, expenses, accounts payable, payroll, personnel, varied duties within the clerk's office, the elections, overseeing the staff, training the staff. I looked back as personnel director, I looked back at since 2020 and looked at how many positions we had open. And we've had about 10 open in our office, 2 in the court side, 1 in the commissioner's office, and the rest were on the auditor side. And we've filled those with different people. Each person is now very fluid with their positions, but each one does not know the other positions as well as their own. And I've walked those walks. I've served in a lot of those spots. I know the layers and layers it takes to operate the clerk's office. I've seen it firsthand and I have a good relationship with like the court clerks and our office clerks on our side. That does matter. It does matter who you work with and how you work together as a team. Our elections run great and strong. Sure, there's always things to improve in any duty, anywhere. But we have good focus, we have good transparency, I believe. If you have a need, you can come let us know. I believe the clerk is like driving a bus. You can read all you want to in a brochure, but until you get behind that wheel and drive some, I don't know that I'd get on that bus. Thank you.
I think at the core of every elected official we have should be a heart for servant leadership. I think that's a common thread you likely heard from every one of these candidates here tonight, and I think it's what we should be looking for in our elected officials. With that, what does that look like out in the community? Well, for me, I don't view the role of a judge any different in that regard. I think our judges should be involved in their community. I think they should be out in their communities, learning what their community's values are, what their community wants to see from our court system. And I think that they should be integrating themselves and their families within the community so they don't lose touch of that aspect. For me and my family, we have strived to integrate ourselves within our communities. I've had the opportunity to serve as the president of our local Rotary Club, the president of our local Kiwanis Club, president of the Idaho Officials Association. Wherever we go, we are always asking ourselves, how can I give back to this community to help make our community a better place? And I don't think that as a judge, we should lose sight of that. With that said, when we look at a judicial role and we look at what we're asking of our judges to do, I think it's important that our judges are going out and they're having opportunities to be reachable by their constituents. This forum here tonight being one such example. I don't know if very many people in the room have actually mapped it out or driven this drive there and back, but to go from my home in the Silver Valley to here in Bonners Ferry and back, we're a 4.5 hour drive tonight. And it's a 4.5 hour drive that I'm happy to make because I want to demonstrate to you as the citizens of Boundary County that we care about your voice. I want an opportunity to meet you, and I hope that through the course of tonight, I was able to demonstrate that and earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I guess you guys all know that I am queen of word salad. I came with notes galore, was bullet pointed, everything was good, but I just feel like sometimes, like at the Lincoln Day dinner, all I did was sit there and read, didn't look up, didn't look at my community, and it was them I should be speaking to from the heart. I'm running because there's some changes that I personally think need to be done. I'm not afraid of the job. The job's the easy part for me. I have been managing my entire life. I moved up. I started in Walmart as a cashier, and I ended up store manager. I moved up quickly. I learned very quickly. And just like the girls were saying, stepping into a position green for me is the best way, because then you're not influenced by all these other entities. You go out, you learn, you talk to the people, which I have been doing for over a month and a half. I spend a lot of time on my phone, texting, talking. I have drank more coffee this last month and a half than I probably have my entire life. But I'm doing it because I love you guys, and there's things that I want changed. I want more transparency. I want better communication with you guys. I always told my people that I was bringing on is teaching and training is something you need to do with everybody. And if my job as commissioner is to teach and train you guys on why we do what we do, so you have better understanding, more confidence in what we're doing and our decisions we're making for you guys, then I'm doing my job correctly. Transparency is so important to me. You guys are always welcome, even now. You want my cell phone number? Thank you. Call me. I'll give it to you.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming here tonight. We do appreciate that. The difference between myself and my opponent is the fact that I do have a proven track record of working with people, working with different boards in the county, and I also understand the county and what we need to keep things moving forward. We need to keep our mills going in Naples and in Moyer, because if we can't treat the landscape, we end up like Flagstaff, Arizona, that loses its mill and it cannot treat the landscape. And then we're paying for mulching and paying for a lot more mitigation for that aspect. So that's my background in going that route. I also will research things if I don't know them and bring them to the board so we can look them over. This county is near and dear to my heart. I work here. I still run my machine when I get a chance. I play here on my mountain bike and hike the trails and hunt and fish. So I bring a lot of different aspects to this job, and as far as dealing with fish and game and the federal offices. So that being said, I would appreciate your votes. One thing this county does deserve, it deserves a very good functioning board, unlike a county south of us that is in disarray most of the time. So that's what we need to keep going and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you, Boundary County residents. And that concludes the evening. Don't let our candidates get out unscathed. Ask them one more hard question, and they'll go home and sleep well. Good night.